Okay.
Oh, okay. What is up, quality people? We are back. This is a profitable conversation. I guess you already saw a sneak peek of our guests. We got Miss Natalie Harris. That was the wrong button. In the building.
Hey, y'all.
Make sure that y'all like for the algorithm, like Miss Kenya Mack already put in the chat. So, Natalie, how are you doing today?
Joshua Prophet. I'm doing amazing.
Awesome.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh.
This is exciting. I'm
No,
kind of
it is
nervous
a pleasure.
little bit, not gonna lie.
Hey, once you get into talking and everything,
Yeah.
everything will be smooth and fine. And then it's just like a conversation, because that's what we literally have on the show. Just a profitable, fruitful conversation. We got our tea.
Yes, we do.
Now,
Okay.
Natalie and I were kind of discussing like a good idea that we could potentially do, that I've kind of had in the past. And if you don't know, Natalie is basically my god sister.
Yes.
And
Yes,
we've known each other since we were like 7 or 8, somewhere around there.
Yeah, honestly, because
Yeah.
I moved to the house in 06, but we kind of low-key met like before I moved. To the house
it was weird
at
because
that camp.
we met at the I think it was YMCA camp.
I think so at that church. No, it was at that church.
Oh, at the church. Yeah, there was like a church camp, and we were kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like we kind of knew each other. I knew because you hung out with Ari, and I knew
Yes.
Ari from school, and we went to another church camp the year prior. So I was really cool with Ari, and then so I kind of knew you, and then one day I was out in my front yard, throwing the football, and then I was like, y'all were checking out the house because y'all were thinking about buying it. I was like, whoa, I know that girl from
Your
camp.
mom popped up
It
to the
was
garage.
crazy.
We hadn't even bought the house yet. Like, we were just looking. And your mom popped up to the garage like, hey!
Yeah. I think she was just really excited that there was going to be more black people.
That's really what it was.
Shout out to Michael. He says,
Literally.
Kenya looks different today. Well, that's because this isn't Kenya.
Yeah, I'm
This
not
is
Kenya.
Natalie.
I'm Natalie.
He's funny. That's one of my cousins.
Nice to meet you.
Hopefully I get to see you next week, Michael. I believe you're coming into town, so hopefully we get to hook up. He said, hey, sup fam? What's up, my man? And he also said happy holidays and Merry Christmas. Hope you had a Merry Christmas, man, and I hope it's a wonderful,
What did you get for Christmas?
What did I get for Christmas? That's a loaded, oh, it's not really loaded, it's pretty straightforward.
How about that?
But my dad really surprised me. He got me a shirt, which is like, oh, a shirt, that's cool. But then he got me a drone. So yeah, like a drone
cool.
for filmmaking and everything, which is really
That's
cool
neat.
because I had a drone
Yeah.
that actually my mom bought me for Christmas probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I was using that for a couple years, and then I was filming a wedding, and it just freaked out, and it was supposed to be this like beautiful shot because the couple was on like this dock, and I was gonna get them like turning around and showing off the
like
love
that nice angle.
over the water, and when I was trying to put it up into the air, it just freaked out and it just right into the water. Yeah. And so it was toast. I was able to recover, the footage.
The footage at least.
Because the memory card was like, kind of concealed, but the actual
Drone itself.
was just it was fried.
That's
and
awesome.
So,
That you're a drone. Like,
yeah.
You can make some amazing footage with a drone.
Oh yeah, it really, like, now it could be overused, but when you use it correctly, as like,
right angles.
it really sets off.
How often do you do weddings?
I've only done one.
It was the only one you did?
That's the only one I've done.
You should do it more. There's a lot of money in
There's
weddings.
a lot of money. Well, the only issue with doing weddings is, I mean, and it would be fun, is the way I would want to do weddings.
Yeah.
I can't necessarily do it solo. So like that wedding, I had
Everyone
to.
I know has a group, has a team.
I used my mom. Now I could hire out somebody, like another filmmaker who's like, oh, like you can come and help me film this wedding. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
But then I would have to raise my prices to accommodate, to make sure that I'm getting compensated as well as them. So that kind of throws in, a curveball. But I really would just want to build out my own team. And now that I'm traveling with Trent doing the documentary stuff, I do want to do some other projects on the side. And the other thing was, I didn't necessarily have the gear that I wanted to shoot weddings the way I wanted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so like I could obviously come and throw together a nice video for you, but it wouldn't be a Josh Prophet
exactly
video the way he would want it. So, I mean, now I think I would be comfortable with like, okay, yeah, I can take, or hire somebody out and be like, yeah, come on. This is the way we're going to do it. And I just have more creative ideas when it comes to wedding. Because the thing about a wedding is you don't get like multiple takes. No. It's like you got to capture it.
You got to make that shot.
You got to make sure the audio and the shots are together, or else you can't use the footage at all.
Well, that being said, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm about to put you on the spot. You being a videographer, photographer, et cetera, and you now being engaged to the lovely Kenya, what are you going to do? Who are you going to be selecting for your photography and for your videography, knowing how particular and how skillful you are and your eyes for things like
right. So this is something I've thought about for a while. So the guy that I met at the wedding that I filmed at, ironically enough, it's Moye Photography. I met him and his team, and they did a phenomenal job. Okay. They had a crew out there, and I believe they do videos too. So he's definitely somebody that I'm going to look into as far as photos, especially. Mm-hmm. Now the video side of things, I do have an interesting idea. So there's another creator. Her name was Sarah Dici, who got married a couple months ago. Yeah. And what she did was she hired people just to film the wedding. And then because she's so creative and already like an editor and edits her own YouTube videos, they just gave her the footage and she edited her own video.
That's exactly kind of fun.
So that's kind of something,
different angles from different people and different perspectives and different, that's actually kind of cool.
And so, of course, you can't film your own wedding, but you can still create your own wedding video the way that you would want it to be portrayed. So.
I would do both. I would still do that idea. I would also have a professional videographer.
But
I would still do that idea and have people also kind of capture themselves too. Within it. It's like a whole collage, the whole experience of that day.
Yeah, Kenya showed me a wedding video from another creator that she watches, and they had this old style camcorder that they were just passing around to all their friends, and and that was laced in the video, and it was cool because it was how we have the wide screens now. It was like that, the more boxy aspect ratio, and they made it look more old timey with the film grain and everything. So it was really cool when they mixed in those shots, because it was almost when you look at that 20 years from now, it's going to make it even more nostalgic, I believe. So, But so that's kind of the direction that I'm headed in as far as thinking about, how photography and videography are going to work. Because it's something I've really, really had to think about, because, it's you can't film your own wedding, can't take your own pictures as well. So, But we did just have, some pictures taken by Courtney. What was that, last week?
Are they already out?
We just got them back a couple days ago, so I don't think Kenya's posted anything, and I haven't posted anything. But she also helped us get a couple clips for the music video to the song that I wrote for Kenya. So that'll be out. The song and the music video will be out on Friday officially, even though we kind of showed it last week. So. Oh yeah. So my plan for 2024 is to, of course, get this down consistently, which we have a good system now. We're able to, put out content on a consistent basis without essentially spending an exorbitant amount of time. Yeah. So a lot of people will think, you look at this production and this took forever to edit and chop up and to produce, and it did to get to this point. Yeah. But since you've gone through your hurdles. Yeah, since we've invested in, streamlining the process so that everything's kind of easy. We just come in here. I mean, the most time-consuming thing is making sure everything's set up and the camera angles are set the way we want them. And then after that, I produce the show. We might have to cut some things here and there, but then other than that, we just clip up our videos into, these smaller videos, or the segments into smaller videos. Short exactly.
Reels and stuff like that. That's where everything, everything is in short form. People want that, longer content. You have to captivate them the whole entire time.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that's a good thing,
It's not. It fuels the ADHD that we already have.
Right. It's kind of like y'all can't pay attention to anything already.
Exactly,
So,
like,
yeah, that's crazy. So, what are you looking forward to 2024 here?
Ooh. You know, the crazy thing is, since being on break and not doing anything, I don't think I've even fully sat down and assessed. So you about to get in real time my thoughts.
Okay, here we go.
Because I haven't even.
We can just talk it through then.
Yeah, let's talk it through. So 2024 will start my third semester of AA school, which is crazy to think that we already had 2 semesters down. That's like crazy to think that time has gone by that fast. So third semester AA school, I start my clinical rotation, and you know I'm in Tampa. I don't know if people know that, but like I'm down in Tampa, and so first things first, I want to continue remaining consistent relationship with God. I did really good since moving to Tampa. I found a church home that I was been attending consistently. It wasn't 7-day Adventist. It was not non-denominational, but for me, it didn't really matter. I just wanted to make sure I was getting that word in, you know, and so just remain consistent with that and stay on top of that and my word and just remain close to him. That's first and foremost, because he got me through the past 2 semesters, hands down, like without relying on God and just seeking him for peace. I don't know if my last semester would even have gone the way it went.
You even got through to this point.
You know, like I don't even, So that's first things first. Second is I want to really get better at handling my anxiety and my stress levels.
Okay.
Things are going to be hard. Like I know that. And you know, I can work hard, I can grind it out. But like going through that process, the level of anxiety and stress that I'm at, like it takes a toll on my body, on my mental. And it's like I want to get better at navigating like my schoolwork and my personal life and not just being as stressed out. Like that for me. So just which to do that means going to the gym consistently, you know. It's just kind of hard.
Yeah, moving is a big thing.
Moving's a big thing. It was hard to do that last semester when I had 9 classes. So I couldn't like work out like I wanted to.
Yeah, you're just studying.
I was just studying and drinking caffeine and then crying whenever. Yeah. So
wow. Okay.
that was like a rotation, like wake up, sleep, study, cry, caffeine, like
repeat,
you know? And so focusing on that, and there's going to be a lot of stressors that come with working, like being in clinical rotations and like being, the field of anesthesia is very, very complicated, you know? And like the second you think you have a hold or hang on things, it's like, that's when you realize anesthesia does not make sense. Like it makes sense to an extent, but then you're just like, there's those moments where like, exactly, anesthesia does not make sense. And so just being confident in what I do know when I go to those rotations and keeping that mindset of like, I'm going to make mistakes and okay. I'm going to make, hey y'all, Evie has made a.
Yep, that is not Sonic. That is not Natalie's little kitten,
I brought my kitten, Evie. And she's been a big help.
She's just helping you.
She's like my emotional support animal.
There you go.
And she has been great. I don't want her to mess with your stuff.
Yeah, she's trying to.
She's going for
get at the cord.
And she's no, Evie, stop it. Okay. What was I at?
Oh, you were just talking about school.
Oh, clinicals, yeah. So with clinicals, just knowing that like I'm gonna make mistakes and take those mistakes that I make and like truly learn from them. Like, you know, don't take anything to heart. Like at the end of the day, the people, my mentors or, you know, my teachers, like they want me to be the best that I can be because someone's life is literally in my hands.
Right.
You know, so don't take anything that someone says personal. It's so that you can be better, so that someone doesn't like literally die. You know, so
yeah. Because if you kind of shy away from your mistakes, then you're not allowing people to help you when help is needed.
Yeah.
And then when you are in a very critical situation and you make that mistake, well, then it's kind of too late to, you know, make that correction.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, so just making sure I remain open to the constructive criticism, making sure I stay on top of my studies and know and come in prepared every day for my clinicals. Like, I know everyone around me, they're thinking about their 2024 year and they're making all these like big goals and plans. That's amazing. But when you're in school, your goal and plan is just to make it through another semester.
Yeah, make it through the next day.
Make it through the next day, next semester. So mine is just like going in and continuously working on like that imposter syndrome that I have, remaining confident in what I do know, not beating myself up because I am my own worst critic. Like I will drill myself a new one, literally.
Right.
You know, and so just finding peace and more ways to seek more ways of self-soothing to make it through. You know, like absolutely I rely on God, but with that as well, I have to always also find my own ways to like self, you know, like self-cope and self-soothe myself, like get through those hard moments. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
God is gonna keep you centered spiritually. But then you also have, you know, a responsibility to put yourself in a good position emotionally and physically as well, which means like, hey, you need to understand, like you can't just eat junk food too, because that's going to, you know, mess with how your body is going to feel, which can affect you emotionally. So you got to take the wisdom and all the things that are good on earth and nutritious for us, and that needs to aid along with your, you know, spiritual connection with God.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that was all over the place, but like
no, that was
I haven't even thought through 2024 yet. Like that's why I'm contemplating going home early
or going back to school.
Going back to school early because I really need to sit down like with my planner and just kind of think out like my school schedule, what I need to do, what I need to like look at. Like since I've been home, I've been a bum and it's been the worst.
But you did need this period of rest.
Yeah.
Where you've gone through the 6 days, and then now this is a kind of like your moment, your day of rest where you can recuperate and get ready for another 6 days of semester, work, essentially, to use a biblical metaphor.
Yeah.
But something that one of my high school baseball coach used to say was, you can't control everything, so you need to control what you can control. But the two things you can absolutely always control are your attitude and your effort.
Yes.
And so even when you make a mistake, it's not that the end of the world that you made a mistake, but how you proceed forward after you make a mistake matters, because a lot of people will get a bad attitude and that'll affect their effort moving forward. But if you say, okay, all right, made a mistake.
It's your mindset.
It's going to happen. Let me keep a positive attitude because I know where I'm trying to get to. Let me learn from this instead of fail from this. Then, and continually put in that effort, well, then you're going to be better off in the long run. And you'll get to your goals a lot faster.
It's a mindset shift for sure.
I
fully, in my life experiences, have learned that, like, I don't have control over, like, anything other than myself, right? Like, I dictate the amount of stuff that's going to get done. Like, I dictate, like, if that's going to, like, work out.
Right.
Because of the effort I put in. Now, God always has his own plan, and that might, veer your plans. Absolutely.
Right.
But, like, your effort still does matter,
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, just turning your mindset, like you said, like, not just, I made a mistake, but how can I learn from this mistake? And versus looking at it, said like, I made a mistake, and now I'm horrible, and like I always knew that I sucked. Like, no, like
that woe is me.
That woe is me.
It will kill you.
Will kill you. Like, no, you made a mistake. Now get back up and do it again. Like, like.
Right. Yeah. And any successful person will tell you that they had to fail before they succeeded, and they had to fail a lot. And a lot of them will tell you that they still fail a lot. And we generally only know them as being successful in one or two or just a handful of fields. And so we prop them up as these icons and these beacons of light, but they're only beacons of light generally in a small aspect of what life actually is. And so that just goes to say that you kind of just got to continually, go through the process of finding out what your niche is, so to speak, of whatever field that you're in. And so it's like, I'm in content creation. Sometimes we talk about relationships, sometimes we talk about this. And then we're kind of putting out these lines to see, okay, what are we best at talking about and what resonates with the people to whom we're talking to. And then when we find that intersection, well then, okay, that's the sweet spot. Now we've, learned from our efforts. Now some videos get like 3 views, some videos get thousands of views. It's
just about the process.
Yeah, it's about the process and learning from the data that you're collecting.
Absolutely.
As well. So, so let's get into So you've already mentioned that you're
is it like an
anesthesiology assistant student.
Yes.
So tell us how that is. Let's go back. Tell us how you even got to the point where you're like, yeah, I think I want to pursue this, because I
was on a whole different path.
You graduated, yeah, and you were on a different path, and then you were like, oh, let me go try this thing, and now you're in Tampa. So take us through how that happened.
That's a long process. Okay, so I graduated in 2019 from Kansas State University with my degree in biochemistry. And I, at one point, throughout the majority of my undergraduate, career, I was pursuing a medical school, full throttle. That was my plan. And then by the time I became a senior in undergrad, I was just like, no. I was just like, no.
Just like, nah.
No.
Thou art loose, you woman.
Absolutely not. I was tired. I had sacrificed so much, within those 4 years of undergrad, and I just, to do it again for another 4 years of medical school and then residency, it just wasn't, for me. I knew I was fully capable as far as, I knew I was smart enough. There was no doubt in my mind I can do it book-wise, but, I just didn't want to do it. So I graduated, and I stayed in Atlanta for a little bit, and then I ended up coming back home, and I was going to pursue a PA track. And so, I started working in the ER in Navicent Health. I was a level 1 trauma tech, which came with its own obstacles and its own experiences. I think that's a whole nother topic question. But I was working there, and I was shadowing different PAs as I was also working. So I'm working, but I'm finding different ways to shadow PAs and stuff like that to get more experience and stuff. And as I was shadowing one of the PAs, it was at a pain center, and this pain center was attached to a surgery center. And she was like, okay, hey, the anesthesiologist is doing a surgery, you should go in there. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went in there, and I never forget, there was a CRNA named Tom. And Tom was he was asking about my background, what I do. And I was like, yeah, got my degree, I work in an ER, all that jazz. And he was like, you should apply to AA school. And I was like, I'm not no alcoholic. What you trying to say? I legit thought he was... You're going to get an AA meeting? Yeah, I thought he was coming for me. I was like, I'm not an alcoholic. What do you mean? And then he was like, no. And he started to explain it. And I still didn't fully understand, what he was talking about. So then as I was leaving, the anesthesiologist also pulled me to the side. And he was like, hey, I know you're set on PA school. I know that's the path you plan on going to. And I was about to submit my application to PA school. And within the next week, I was submitting my application. I had all my recommendations. I had my paper was written, my scores. I was about to submit, And so he was like, but I just think that you would really like the field of anesthesia, and that AA was more of your path. Still not knowing what this was. Okay. So I go back to the hospital the next day.
Well, real quick, did you know Tom? Was this your first encounter with him?
Yes.
See, that's kind of wild that he was he assessed you that quickly to where he was like, nah, that's not the path for you.
Yeah, he literally just assessed me. I told him the basic information of my academic background and that I'm where I'm working at right now, and he just, nope, but AA school. And he's the first one to drop that bug. And then anesthesiologist was the second one. And then I go back to the hospital the next day, and I'm talking to one of my nurses about PA school. And I'm talking to her about PA school. She goes, you should apply to AA school.
That's wild.
And I was and this is within back-to-back days. Wow. I went back to work the next day, and she said that. And I was like, you're the third person in 2 days to say this. And I have never heard this field ever before in my life. So what are you talking about right now, right? So I go online, and I start doing research and trying to understand what is AA, right? What is this, right? And I'm gonna fully explain what it is once I finish this whole story part, and then I'll fully explain what AA is. And so I did my research, started learning about what it was and how we are anesthesia providers, but we are under the leadership of a physician. We manage the care of patients as they're under anesthesia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the OR was right above the ER at Navicent. So I went back to work, went up to the OR, found the head nurse in charge. And I was like, hey, I have a badge that'll get me to any area of this hospital. Can I just come in and shadow you. And we'll shadow anyone that, you know,
Right.
whether it be an AA or CRNA or the anesthesiologist himself or herself, can I just shadow, right? And she was like, yeah, sure. So I came in, started shadowing, and I was just like in awe, like, to Evie, child. I was like in awe. Like I was like, the fact that like we're putting, like you were in complete control of somebody, you're putting somebody under to sleep, like managing their airway, managing their vitals the whole entire time, and then emerging them from their sleep. Like I was like, this is fascinating. This is like
that
cool.
is,
You know, like it was so cool. And even though at the time I didn't understand any of the machinery that was going into it, I didn't understand any of the drugs or the gas or anything, I was just like, this is neat, right? This is really cool. So I kept going back, kept shadowing, and then eventually I just like looked up all the requirements that I needed. I already had majority of them, but I had to like start from like, I had to go and read network because I didn't have any recommendations from somebody in anesthesia.
Yeah, exactly.
I had everything for PA. I knew nobody in anesthesia, right? So I had to like hit the ground running, make phone calls, keep shadowing, like asking people, and I like within, let's say, I found out April or May, and by October, November, I had made enough like connections and everything to submit. Like when I say like enough connections, like I drove down to Tampa and was like, hi, hey, this is me.
Yes.
Community school.
How did these conversations go? Because obviously you had already established a network for the PA route.
Yeah.
But now you're trying to quickly establish a network to go to AA school.
Yeah.
And how did these conversations go? Like, were you like, hey, I'm Natalie, help me out? Or
it was more of like, I came with my resume. Like I'm going to say this like most humble way. I'm very thankful and grateful to have, for God to have blessed me with the grades and the experience that I have, right? I worked really, really hard in undergrad. Like I came out with an amazing GPA, and then working at Livermore Trauma Center is, you know, like that's
not for the faint of heart.
That's not for the faint of heart,
Yeah.
you know. So like that puts a boost on your resume. I did research. I was in charge of multiple organizations, and so like I just came with my resume, and you know I just came in and said like, you know, this is
what I've done.
This is what I've done. And so just from a conversation that they had with me, they was just like, you know, they were impressed, and they was like, you know, you speak well for yourself, you're very respectable, like X, Y, and Z, very nice young girl. And so they were more than willing to like give me the opportunity, but I had to just put myself out there and not be afraid to make that phone call, not be afraid to get in somebody's face and like say like, hey, like I'm here, you know, like I'm just looking for that one opportunity. If you're gonna give it, you know, you're gonna be the one to give it to me.
Yes.
You know? And so it was really a lot of this and that, like networking, calling people, emailing people, being okay with the no, doing it again. And I just managed to get like, you know, those 3 recommendations that I needed. I drove down to Tampa, met the staff at the school I'm currently at, and just kept in touch, sent emails, set up Zoom calls, like so they can see where I was at with my application process, and like keep them up to date. Took my GRE multiple times to get my score higher because Lord knows it wasn't the best. And you know, I just put myself out there. Networking is like, it's challenging, but you got to just keep doing it.
Really? Yeah. It's almost like trying to maintain a friendship with somebody who's not your friend, essentially, or not necessarily going to reciprocate the same effort as a friend normally would. Now, I mean, obviously when you're networking, you'll network with your friends. But in this case, these are people that are going about their professional lives.
Yeah,
it's not like they're going
them at all.
Yeah, they're not gonna. They're not running into you every day. Like you're seeking them out. And so the fact that you maintained the process of like, hey, like, it's me again. Like, just wanted to keep you up to date. I think that spoke volumes. And paired with the fact that you do speak well for yourself, I think they were like, okay, like she's got a good resume. She seems like she really wants this. Yeah. Let's give her the opportunity. Because a lot of times people will miss out on opportunities just because they don't ask a question.
Absolutely.
Or they just don't put themselves out like you did. And or if they hear one no, they're like, oh, that's the end of it.
They feel defeated.
It's like, no, that's only the beginning. Because all you need is that one yes, or the
That one yes.
The minimum amount of yeses it is to, meet your requirements. So.
But to also know that even after you get those yeses and you have people that like, give you that support, the job isn't done, because now like you can't put their name in vain. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
you can't discredit what they just they stuck their neck out for you. Yeah. You have to live up to like what they just said about you.
Yeah, you got to deliver on what you said you would.
And so like that's also something I like make sure I'm intentional about and pride myself on, is like, if you stick your neck out for me, I promise you I'm gonna make sure you don't regret that. You know? And so I think, and that's how I just continue to cultivate my relationships with the connections that I've made, because they knew that like, okay, like, oh, like she did what she said she was gonna do. Okay, like, yeah, like, so
let me help you. Yeah,
let me help you.
Let me give
more.
You some resources. Yeah.
So all in all, I can just explain what AA is. AAs, we are mid-level providers that provide anesthesia. We go through a 27-month long program, and for a fully accredited program, you take your boards, essentially like your exams. The first year is a didactic year where you're just in your teaching gear, and the second year you're in full clinicals, so you're doing different rotations in different states to get more hours and experience with anesthesia. We believe in the teamwork model of anesthesia care. So we are under the physician. We don't believe in full autonomy and trying to, X out the anesthesiologist. It's not the case. Like, we believe in a team.
Okay, I got you. So y'all are all working in tandem. Okay, got you.
So you might have like one anesthesiologist to like 3 mid-level anesthesia providers, or like 1 to 4 or something like that, right? But we believe in that like teamwork model. We believe that it takes everyone working together to care for these patients, and so people they compare us to CRNA. CRNA is an amazing field. I know they have AAs, CRNAs have their quorums, but CRNA is also an amazing field. As far as I guess like level, we're on the same level. We get paid the same. In certain situations, CRNAs can work on their own if they choose to, and that's their profession. I'm not going to speak on that, but we're mid-level providers that provide anesthesia care, like a perioperative approach to anesthesia, and it's an amazing field. Like, I'm very excited that I went down the anesthesia route. I feel like going into it, even after like I did my research and starting my program, like, is when I realized, oh, you really know nothing. Like, you think you know some stuff, you do your research, like, okay, like I have an idea of this, and you're like, oh, I knew nothing. Like,
you're just going down all of the different channels.
It took me like a couple of months just to like understand what like amnesia really meant. Like, amnesia and like sedation and like, like, you might think, oh, these are just like general terms. Like, no, I had to like continuously like read different definitions to differentiate with like what certain things like were.
To try to make all the connections to actually conceptualize the full framework of it.
Exactly. Like somebody can be sedated, but they can still be conscious enough to understand what you're saying. Like, they don't have full amnesia. Like,
so they're kind of out of it, but they're not.
Exactly.
It's almost like their subconscious is speaking.
The last thing to go is your hearing, right? Like, when you go into anesthesia, like, the last thing to go is your hearing. So yeah, you might have sedated that patient, but they probably still hear you.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna get into the full science.
No, that is kind of funny, because I don't remember. So I have this little scar. I'm not sure if the camera can pick it up, but when I was in high school, I was sliding into a base, and long story short, tore this ligament, just detached, snapped it in half, kind of fractured my thumb a little bit. So I had to get hand surgery to repair the ligament, and my mom. So I was put under, essentially, and my mom said that when I woke up, I was like, hey, where's the doctor? I gotta thank him. And I was like, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
And they were like talking to me, and I was like, I guess talking back, and I was like, I don't remember any of that.
No, you're not gonna.
And so I guess I could hear, but as I was coming to, but I couldn't like.
And some people do have recollection. Like, it just varies. Like, like, we're not gonna get to the full science, but some people do have recollection of like what happens. It kind of just varies. Everyone's body is different. That's why like when they refer to a MAC, that's just like what impacts like 50% of the population. I'm not gonna get to the science because it's gonna be really confusing. But the point is, everyone is different. Some people might actually have recollection to a certain extent of like what happened or
every
what they
case
heard.
is so.
Everyone's body's different.
It's like individualized.
Yeah.
But you still have these overarching themes that you can apply to different situations.
Yeah, like, this can apply to 50% of the population. Like,
Right.
everyone's different, but majority of the times, this applies.
Yeah, that does muddy the waters for as far as, like, what you need to know to be most effective at your job.
Exactly. That's why, like, you need to know everything for anesthesia, because, like, 99% of the time, because we're talking about, like, the general population, 50%, 9% of the time, everything you're just coasting, like, with the anesthesia. But then that 1% where, like, stuff hits the fan, and you better know how to respond to it. Like, you better know the different systems and everything to know how, like, what's happening and why, and how to respond to this, right? But 9 times out of 10, like, everyone, you coasting until you're not.
Like, it's pretty, like, a simple job, but then, curveball.
But you need to be knowledgeable of how to handle that curveball.
Right.
So it's like, But, like I said, I'm in the beginning of it. I've only had 2 semesters down. I'm still learning. I still don't even fully understand anesthesia. Like, but it's like, that's another reason why I like it, because it's such a, like, a vast, like, very complicated field. It's very rewarding, you know? So, like I said, I'm only in my 3rd semester. I could say I don't know nothing.
How many more semesters do you have?
So 27 months in total. So 27 months in total. I started in June. So what are we at? In December? How many months is that?
6.
6 months.
Yeah.
And so, like, 21 months left, but so, like, 3 semesters after that.
Okay.
But second year is clinical, so, like, clinical.
So you're not as, like, in the grueling. You're in more practical, real life situations.
Yeah. Well, in clinical, like, for clinical, which starts in August for me, and that's when, like, every month, every 2 months, like, you go on rotations. You go on rotations to, like, a different city or a different state, X, Y, and Z, every month, every 2 months.
Oh, that's cool.
And so you're not taking any classes. You're literally just, like, in the field, like, honing your craft and getting more experience of, like, putting people under induction and emergence and X, Y, and Z, and maintaining them during surgery, stuff like that. So it's like,
got it.
I'm at the surface of the surface, like... Like I said, I still don't understand anesthesia, but it's an amazing field. Like, and for me, I like the fact of being a mid-level provider and not being the sole person that's responsible. I like having my anesthesiologist above me and going to him, like, here's my question, like,
yes,
what do I do now? Like, like, I want to be the point where, like, I'm very knowledgeable in my field and I know what I'm doing, but I have that person where I can go to and say, hey, like
you have that team that can help you. I mean, just in case you're, slightly not as sharp on that day,
like,
or just missing something. Like, we're all humans. There's I've mentioned this before on the podcast. There's this great book called Wisdom of the Crowds, which essentially the concept is that when we are in greater numbers, we're actually smarter as a group than one individual person.
Yeah.
So if you have one genius, but then you have 4 average IQ people, they'll probably come up with a better solution to a problem because they're able to see things from multiple different perspectives, and they all have a different strengths in the knowledge that they're bringing to that specific problem that's trying to be solved. And so it's like this wisdom of the crowds type model that you're going to be living out in your practice. So
that's a good comparison. Yeah. And I think I just want to, like, for people that don't know what AA is, just kind of fully just finish off comparing it to CRNA with the differences. CRNAs, they're registered nurses first. They went through nursing school, and then I think they go through either a year or 2 of ICU training, and then they go to CRNA school, which is 3 years. Versus me, I had my degree in biochemistry, so I did my 4-year degree, and then I got whatever other qualifications that I needed to qualify for AA school, which is 27 months. So a shorter schooling time versus, like, 3 years for them, 27 months for us, but our curriculum is very comparable. Like, we're learning the same things with our curriculum-wise. And we come out roughly with the same, like, experience hours of anesthesia. Because, like, I don't fully know how their curriculum is, but as far as hours-wise, experience for anesthesia, we come out roughly the same, like, hours-wise, and then you go off into your field. And it's just that they can, in certain situations, work with full autonomy.
Like solo
versus AAs. We will always be under the anesthesiologist and in a, team model which we're okay with. The AA fields, we're perfectly fine with that.
Nice. So Kenya had a comment. She said it was the Lord. She was referring to how like all the connections with
yes.
This person recommending, hey, try AA school. And I thought it was interesting that it was 3 people because God often works in threes. Even when he was telling, Peter that you're going to deny me, he was like, you're going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crows.
Yeah.
And then you have, Abraham. Wait, was it Abraham? No, Noah had 3 sons. Like there's just all these different, I actually saw a video about like all the themes of 3 in the Bible, and it's very interesting to see the long line. So you can see how God works in threes, and then I believe the triangles like kind of like God's shape, and so like you'll see often like the pyramids, you'll see often they're built out of smaller triangles and stuff like that. So it's just very interesting how like everything works.
Yeah, like you said, it's even the number 3 like. That is like my dad's like number. Like every time God works his magic or his hands in our lives,
you can see it.
You can see it in 3s for my dad and 8 for me. You know, and so he definitely came and just redirected my path, because it was just crazy how it all worked out. Like I was really going to submit my application to PA school like within a week.
Wow.
And God was just like, nope.
Oh, I got a better plan for you.
I have a better plan for you.
Yeah.
And, and he shows me time and time again, me being down there in Tampa, like moving to a whole different state by myself, starting this program, like this intense program, realizing that like I know nothing. That's like, like I still don't know anything, and it's been 2 semesters,
Right, yeah.
And so like, he's just been showing me like why he put me here, and he works in a serious way. And I think he also knew I couldn't be bedside for my whole entire life for medicine. I think he knows me as a person.
So he was like, hey, let me put this
because
opportunity in front of her.
Exactly.
You just gotta take the.
Because at some point, I get to a point where I'm like, stop talking to me. At some point, like, I care for my patients, and I care for people, and I'm a giver. But at some point, I'm like,
you're just like,
stop talking to me.
You're just socially drained to the point where you're like, I can't do this.
Yeah. And Stacey's like, go to sleep.
Wake up. Yeah. No, I get it. All right, Jack is in the building. Shout out to Jack. Hope you are doing well, my man. I was texting him yesterday, wished him a Merry Christmas. So hope you're having a good holiday,
Merry Christmas,
Jack, and you're recovering well from your injury. And shout out to T-Mac, Miss Tarver Max in the house. Good morning, quality. Happy holidays. Yes, we are using your coasters. So
we are using your coasters. They look so good.
Thank you for the wonderful gift.
Yes,
She got some coasters. She gave me a frame with it was a picture of like right after Kenya and I got engaged, and she's like holding the ring. So that was really cool. It's in my room right now. So shout out to all the quality people joining us. We're talking with Miss Natalie Harris about her schooling, AA
it's
school.
Like in AA school, I feel like I haven't even fully touched on like the program yet.
Well, let's before we even get more into the program, talk about how. So you've gone off to college, so you've been kind of on your own before.
Yeah.
But when you were at college, you were in state. You probably knew a lot of people. A lot of people go to Kennesaw State.
Yeah.
I know you connected with Kenya at Kennesaw State.
Absolutely.
As well. And so you were around more familiar people.
For sure.
Now you're going to a different state, to a town where you know nobody.
Yes.
How is that transition?
Oh my gosh. I don't even fully know how I like even made this shift. It was like a whole reset for me. Like my first time I had my own apartment, right? Like even when I was in college, you have roommates, right? And so it's like, in the townhouse we had our own individual rooms, but just those people that you were living with, And so like it's the first time me truly living on my own with like nobody there, in a whole new state. So when something happens, I can't just like call somebody and say, hey, like, can you come help me with this?
Yeah, come on down the road. Yeah.
You can't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I had an uncle, I I have an uncle that's down there, but, he doesn't have a vehicle, right? So I couldn't just call him like, hey, can you do this? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have a vehicle, right? And so then having a whole new cohort of like students who you have to like get to know, and like you're also navigating like how to present yourself in this new space, right? And you're questioning all your actions because it's just like you're in a new city, new environment, new people, and it's like, how am I going to choose to show up in this new space?
Like, what part of myself do I want to present to?
Exactly. What part of myself do I want to present in this space? And like, and that's not to say, oh, you want to, show a facade or anything like that. Like, it's just to say, like,
But I mean, your relationship with your dad is going to be, and what you give to your dad is going to be different from even what you give to me.
Exactly.
And we've known each other a very long
years.
time versus what you give to a stranger.
Exactly.
And now you're in a completely new town, going to school into a completely new field
that
you have
no understanding of. So like it came with so many like adjustment periods, like of like trial and error, making mistakes, like doing something or saying something, be like, why did you say that? Like, and questioning yourself, or like a whole lot of doubt, imposter syndrome. Like, I feel like I knew about imposter syndrome. I don't think I went through it that much in undergrad, but in this program, like, I have gone through imposter syndrome so much. Like, I have questioned, like, if I was even smart enough, if I was good enough, if I was even worthy of being in this program, if I was capable of, like, making it down here. Like, it's one thing, like, when I was in Georgia my whole entire life, I knew how to thrive,
Right, yeah.
Now I gotta go to a whole nother state and try to keep that same stamina of, like, trying to thrive, And at some point, it felt like I was just getting, like, knocked down, like, maybe cornered,
Well, because, in Georgia, you have a lot of support.
Yeah.
And so, like, if something happens, if you stumble, it's like, oh, somebody's there to kind of just catch you.
Yeah.
But when you're, completely alone, that fall hurts just a little bit worse.
It's a little bit worse,
I'm not sure if I want to get back up from this.
Exactly. So, it came with a lot of just, like, mentally having to talk myself through things or through my emotions of, like, and on top of that, like, I realized I didn't grieve before, like, when I moved, that's when, like, the signs really hit. And I really realized that, like, I didn't grieve anything. Like, I just pushed all my losses, like, under the rug and just, like, threw myself into work, threw myself in taking care of, like, my dad or my nieces and nephew or my sister, just being a helping hand.
Just being there, being the support, but nobody was there to...
Exactly. No one was there to support me. And then, like, when I left, all my emotions that I just tucked away about, like, my losses, like, of, like, losing my dad's, my mom's, my gram, and losing my mom, like, losing, my aunt, like, all the losses, I just didn't realize I did not even, like...
Yeah, you didn't have time to cope with them. Because, I mean, they happen fast, too.
They happen fast,
like, real fast.
Like, out of nowhere, like, out of the blue, like, it's, like, snatched out of your life, And it's, like... when it happened, I was too afraid to address it, so I just went into something else. So then moving to Florida, that's when being alone, having no friends, no family, just a silence, is when I really had to, like, reassess. Like, to the point, like, first semester of my program, I was in the emergency room, like, in June, because my chest pain was hurting, so I was hurting bad. My chest was killing me.
You were just panic.
Like, palpitations, chest was hurting. My cousin had just died. Like, my first week of school, like, before my first day of school, I had a test, right? Like, first day, like, literally, like, you come in, they're like, here's a test.
Yeah, that's wild.
Right? It was
that's crazy.
I was like, what are you doing, right? So I had a test, and the next day after my test, I get a text from my aunt. It was like a group message. She didn't know that I didn't know that my cousin had passed away.
Wow.
And so I read it, and I'm like, read down, and I see, like, Isaiah passed away. I call my other cousin, and I was like, what's she talking about? Like, what do you mean? And this is the cousin that lives down in Florida, like, in St. Pete, like, 20 minutes from me, right? Who I was very excited to spend more time with moving down there, right? So I called my cousin. She was like, oh, like, your dad didn't tell you. And I was like, y'all about to piss me off. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening? And so that's when I was told that He was having chest pain. He was going to go do DoorDash. His girlfriend was saying, no, let's just take a nap. I don't want you leaving, which, I'm glad he didn't leave. I want you leaving, take a nap. They took a nap. When she woke up, he was unresponsive. He was 28.
That's just unbelievable.
Unbelievable, right? He was 28. And, this is cousin that, we raised, siblings, lived with us at one point in time. That was a big hit, So it was I already realized I didn't grieve. Losing my cousin. And I'm just getting down to Florida by myself, right?
Right, so. Yeah. And so, it's kind of crazy because in one aspect, it's okay, it's a new city, I can start fresh and with a clean slate. But then on the other side, it's everything from where I came from is just...
It's just becoming
darker in a sense,
Yeah. It was navigating that dark battle first and coming out of that first, but... Looking back, it's wow, now you're really strong. Looking back is what I went through that first semester, what I went through second semester, with another loss, and still being out there in Florida by myself, and then losing my nana, losing my last grandmother, being by myself. It was I was sitting in my room. And all my family, they're in Georgia. Uncle, he's 30 minutes away, but in the vehicle, so I gotta go to him. But I have class in my yards,
wow,
and so it's just you're sitting there, and you're just oh my gosh.
You get to a point where you're wow, this is too much.
Yes.
Because you're just doing all these different things, and you're not even realizing that you're doing it, and then you get to a point where you kind of just hit your peak.
Yes.
And you're wow, this is a lot. This is too much. You just become overwhelmed.
Completely overwhelmed. Yeah. I had a full-blown panic attack on the phone. And so I think, and everyone's experience is going to be different when they move to a whole other state and their new environment. It just so happens with my experience, I had a lot of compounding additions to it. I moved to a whole other state, a new environment, new program, new people. But top of that, now I'm grieving full throttle everything that I tucked away, everything that I didn't address within myself as an individual is coming to the surface now. I see those flaws now. It's oh wow, I now see what so-and-so was saying about me. I get it now. Okay, I want to work on that. Because you're sitting with those thoughts. You're no longer having things outside to just distract you. You're sitting in those thoughts.
Yeah, it's just you and those thoughts. And that can be very challenging for people. Yeah. Even people that haven't been through super traumatic experiences, a lot of people just can't be alone with their own thoughts in
it's a
general.
Place to be. Some people would never call out of that.
Yeah, and then you compound that with the things that you had to experience. Yeah. Well, that oftentimes that can send people, over the edge, for sure, which is very unfortunate. But that's why, mental health is super important. Yeah. Your spiritual health is super important.
Absolutely.
Your general health
is very important.
Is the utmost thing in life. Absolutely. Not chasing money or financial freedom. Your health and your relationship with, God, your relationship with yourself, how you treat your body, which goes along with yourself. Those are the two most important things over anything else. Because if you don't have that down pat, everything else is going to crumble.
Exactly.
And everything else
prioritize.
And everything else is meaningless as well. Because if you don't have those two things, you're
running on empty. How are you going to pour into anybody's? How are you going to do the work that God has for you to do when you're literally running on empty? You haven't even cultivated the house that He's giving you. You know,
you have nothing to give.
You have nothing to give.
Yeah.
And I definitely realized that being away, even though you're away, you're still handling family situations. I'm away, but I'm still getting those phone calls, and being that mediator.
And you're also not there.
I'm not there, right?
So not only are you having to grieve alone, but you're also not able to be with your family. Yeah. And you're naturally a person that wants to be there and support. You're not able to even do a gift that God has given you to do.
So you're trying to handle things in a whole other state. You're calling me for something that's I'm not there. You're calling me about it. And I'm over trying to figure out my own self. So it definitely, this past, 6 months of being away has just taught me a lot. Definitely been through a lot. And, but it also showed that, I'm way stronger than I ever thought I was. Like don't get me wrong, I'm still emotional. Don't get me wrong, I'm still emotional. But the Nat back then who thought that like she couldn't make it through things or was just gonna crumble, I proved myself wrong. I shocked myself how I respond to things. You know, like the way I just react and just like, all right, go do it. You know, I still shock myself.
But yeah, it's a beautiful testimony too, because a lot of people, I mean, it could be used in two different ways, right? So when you grow up and like you have kids or you're a mentor to other young ladies, I mean, it could play out two different ways. You can say, oh, I went through all of this, you'll be fine. And you can kind of use it in a callous way, or you can use it as a testimony to be like, hey, look, I went through some crazy things. I know you're going through some crazy things. Or maybe they're not even going through some crazy things. Maybe they just need a perspective shift.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, like everything's not as bad as it could be.
Yeah.
But the understanding that you're always stronger than you think.
Absolutely.
Is
because I refuse to use it in a callous way. I refuse to be that person to where, because of what I've been through, I now discount others' experiences. You know, I don't.
Yeah.
That's not okay. You know, because like what you deem is at the end of the world, it might be for you, right? Because it's the experiences you've had, right? I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, because I've been through far worse, your experiences don't matter. Like, no, like I choose instead to take my experience, and if I feel like God's telling me to share my testimony of like, this is what I've been through, this is what I will come, for the benefit of that person to see a different perspective, like you said, then I'll share it. And I've done that. You know, I've told my full story, and people will be shocked because they're like,
how are you still here?
Yeah, like people will like look at me like, if you didn't tell me that, I would never have known. Like they'd be like, you carry it very well, and I'm like, I've only carried it well because at the end of the day, despite the traumatic things that I had to go through, things that I've seen, but God is like the things He has blessed me with is like, I'm just grateful. You know, I'm extremely blessed despite what I have seen and what I've gone through. You know, like I'm grateful. Those things hurt. I'm never gonna get over any of it ever. I'm scarred. You know what I'm saying? Like I was diagnosed with anxiety last year. I was diagnosed with PTSD over the summer. I'm scarred, but like I just know that He's not done with me yet, though. Like that happened, but you're not done with me yet.
You still got to march forward.
You know what I'm saying? I still got to march forward. You're not done with me yet. Like this, you have something for me that is never going to make what happened easier or better, but this is something there for me, you know? And so I try to touch with people at times, and I don't even do it for myself. I just do it so that in hopes that if I share this, your mindset will shift and you can determine to keep going. You know what I'm saying? You redirect and say, okay, you know what? Like I can do this. I can keep going. You know, I never want to put it in a malice sense of like discrediting anybody's experiences.
That's beautiful. And I like how you said you don't allow the labels to define you. Yeah. And what I mean by that is you said you were diagnosed with PTSD, diagnosed with anxiety. And a lot of people will use that as an excuse to lash out or act out or be less of the person that they're called to be. Absolutely. But you're like, these things are part of my experience, these things that I have to deal with. Absolutely. But I'm still marching forward in the best way that I can. I'm still trying to be the salt of the earth. I'm still trying to be a beacon of light. Absolutely. Which a lot of people, when they let the label define them and say, oh, but I have anxiety, so you have to give me a pass on this. And you're like, no, I'm not giving myself a pass on, not being the best person that I could be, not adhering to, the things that God wants me to be. Yeah. He wants me to be, focus on things that are good, that are pure. He wants me to be loving, kind, and caring. When it would be easy,
it'd be so easy
for you to just go around hating the world, go around with a bitter attitude. Absolutely. I mean, even with the support system that you have, because you have a lot of people around you that love you, but it would still be easy to just be like, nah, like, I'm tapped out. I'm just gonna hate the world.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't realize sometimes, like, you have people surrounding you, but you can still feel so very alone.
Oh, yeah. People
around you. You know, like you can have people like that are right there to say, oh, I got you, da da da, but like you feel so very alone because they don't really hear you or understand you, and they also don't want to. Like people want to hear what they want to hear to make themselves feel better and feel, justified for like their attempt to like be there. You know? So, like,
or they try to tell you what you should do. Because
how you should
it kind
feel.
of feeds into their own ego.
Exactly.
Yeah. Instead of genuinely trying to help. Yeah.
Exactly. So like you said, going back to how you said I could use like things that I was diagnosed with as like a cop out and just like, as an excuse, because I don't and I choose to continue pushing forward, like knowing, okay, yes, I deal with these things, but like I'm strong enough to continue going forward. The catch is because I choose to push through, when there's times when I am struggling, I am weak, and I need help, they don't believe me.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, you did it before. You're fine.
Yeah,
you'll get through it.
Yeah.
You're fine. And I'm like, no, like I need help.
Yeah. It's like when you ask for help, it's like, no, like I need it now.
Yeah, I need it now, which led to Evie.
Right.
Which led to my cat. Like I ain't never want like cats in my life. Like, it's a dog person. Like,
yeah. I was surprised when you were like, hey, I have a cat, a little kitten. I was like,
I was shocked.
Like that. I was like, okay.
I was shocked, but it got to a point where I was just like, I needed help, like in any form, and I need help in any form, and she's been like a blessing. Like honestly, people think that cats aren't like, like cuddly.
No, cats are so cool. One, they clean themselves.
They do clean themselves. Thank God.
Two, their owners, even some cats are very sociable. Like my cat's very sociable. Your cat seems to be very sociable too. Well, she's
a demon spot.
she just doesn't like girl cats. All right. I don't think she'll have the problem with Kenya's cat. And if she does, well,
what
then,
you gonna do? What y'all gonna do?
I mean,
she made the choice for you.
I don't know. So,
do you have a girl or a boy?
She has a boy.
Okay, she might be okay with the boy.
I think she'll be fine with a boy because she was also raised around dogs too.
Okay.
Like a lot of dogs. So I'm not sure. Sonic's a different cat. She's unlike any other cat
I can tell.
I've ever.
She got some serious fangs. Her teeth popped out.
Oh yeah.
I was scared. Okay.
She's no joke.
She's no joke. But yeah, like that's led to Evie. Like I just being down there by myself, I knew I could need a dog. They're too dependent. I about to go into clinicals, so that's like 12-hour shifts on top of like classes and schoolwork and stuff. And I was seeing a therapist. Got expensive because school insurance is trash. Just really not having nobody down there, and sometimes just like having somebody physically present or some being physically present, it just makes a difference. Like just say that ounce of just not feeling alone. Like that was something I navigated a lot. Was just like being down there. I felt so alone, right? And yeah, you have your cohort, but they're also going through their own things as well. Right. So they can't focus on like
you.
Yeah. Like they're married or have kids or like families and like their own stuff they're going through, right? And on top of that, like my classmates, they're great, but it is hard when you're like, it's only like, what's it, it's like three black girls in my program, and it's like there's like 37, 38 of us. Everyone else is like, and so that is something to navigate too, right? Because I'm from Georgia, okay?
Yeah, there's black people everywhere.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm from Georgia, but the way we navigate in Georgia
is a lot different.
Different than how they navigate down there, right? So it was like navigating that space of like...
Yeah, it's a little bit of a culture shock, I guess.
It's a culture shock, you know what I'm saying? Like I'll say something and they're like, huh? And I'm like, never mind.
Yeah, like even your dialect has to change.
My dialect has to change.
Oh, y'all don't say that here? Like...
Exactly.
Y'all don't know what that means? Yeah. No,
exactly.
I understand. Yeah.
Even I had a professor, he's so cool. Something happened and I was like, I'm from Georgia. He was like, oh, that makes sense. And I was like, yeah.
No, it's funny. It is really funny because my cousins from the Northeast got in town yesterday. And I mean, every time they come in town, we always have a good time.
Yeah.
But it's funny because we'll say, they think I'm country, but everybody here doesn't think I'm from here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No one thinks we're from here.
Yeah. And in fairness, like your dad raised in Northeast, my mom raised in Northeast, and my dad was raised in Cali.
Yeah.
And so our immediate roots and the way we were brought up
aren't
really planted here, right?
Yeah.
Now we'll have, of course, direct influence because we're around people who our country is corn.
Yeah,
but we ourselves, our country is corn.
Not, yeah.
But yeah, it's super interesting because even though we don't talk necessarily like, Southerners.
Yeah, we don't.
We still have to, we communicate like the Southerners because we've
the dialect
has been embedded into us our whole lives. And so when we go, off to different places, like, oh, you're from Georgia. You sound like you're from Georgia, but you don't sound like you're from Georgia. So it's super interesting how that can work.
But they think down there that I sound country.
That's what I was about to say, because my cousins think I sound country.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you don't know.
You don't know country.
You want to go to the buffet
you
real quick?
You don't know what country really is,
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
Like, they say it to me, but then also, like, even being down there, some people will think I'm from up north, So it's like, some people will say country, like, okay, Georgia, I can see it. But some people will think, like, okay, you're from somewhere up north, And so it kind of just varies, but mainly when I'm down there, people like, oh, I love your country accent, and I'm like, I got a country accent, like I got a country accent for real.
Yeah.
Like, okay, because being in Georgia, people always, oh, where are you from? And I tell them, and I'm like,
I've been here my whole life.
Exactly.
Bro.
Like, no, you're
about?
not, and I'm like.
Yeah, it's funny when they try to tell you that you're not from there, and I'm like, oh, I was born.
I was born at
over there.
Houston Medical.
There.
Like, I was born at Houston Medical.
Yeah, no, it is crazy how people are like, nah, like you're playing with me. It's like, no, you're playing with me.
Yourself. No, seriously. So like, just navigating all that and just, you get through it though. But very grateful. But it's been an experience for sure. People say that moving away from your family will probably be the hardest but best thing you ever done. Mm-hmm. It has for sure been the hardest but best thing I've ever done, because that self-reliance. I was already self-reliant, but it just now went even deeper. Like,
now you're like, I can handle my business in any situation. With confidence, even if I haven't faced that situation before.
Absolutely. So.
No, that's very good.
Definitely came with the challenges for sure.
That's very good. T-Mac came in, says, it's so good to hear this. Keep going forward. A lot of people don't realize what we go through on the inside. Having that good support and good Lord will get us through anything.
Absolutely. Amen. Absolutely.
I like that. Well said, T-Mac. Well said. So, yeah, that was a talk about school with Natalie.
Even before we talk about school, we talked about everything else.
There was a little section in there. There was a little section about school. But yeah, we're going to continue to move this conversation. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk about, body image and beauty standards and all of that. So stay tuned. Fight for the algorithm.
Hey guys, welcome to the Conscious Outlet Podcast. We are officially a part of the Quality Entertainment Network, and we are so happy to be here. I'm Miracle Monique.
And I'm Alan J.
And we're here to discuss the intersection of culture, faith, media, so we can inspire some practical solutions to some huge societal challenges that we're facing today. So let's work together to get this done.
Hold on. Yeah. What is up, quality people? Welcome back to the Quality Entertainment Network. Welcome back to Profitable Conversations. Got my good friend, my sister, Natalie Harris in the house. Make sure that you like for the algorithm, support the platform, subscribe, share, send us a super chat. We do have that ability. So if you like the content that we are creating and you want more and you want us to expand into creating even higher quality content, support us with a super chat. Also, if you have any topics that you would like us to cover or videos you want us to react to, we do have a email link down in the description box. Hit us up there and we could cover it on our next show. Also, before we get into our next topic, we have 769 subscribers.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Some quality people. We're on route to 1,000. So keep sharing this with your friends and family. Our next show is to be determined, but my cousins are in town, so hopefully maybe able to do part 2 with Gabrielle, or even include her sister Sage in one of these conversations, or maybe I'll get my uncle on the podcast. That would be really interesting content. So Kenya's taking the rest of the year off, so you won't see her till 2024. So I'm gonna just be grinding this thing of ours by myself. But just make sure you stay tuned. Keep sharing this with your friends and family, and we definitely appreciate every like, every share, every super chat that we get. All right, Natalie.
Yes.
So, talk about anesthesiology assistant school. Now let's talk about the beauty standards. And the question that I got a question, is, are females losing their souls for vanity? So you can just generally answer that before we, dive deeper into this topic.
Yes, but I think there's nothing new. I think that it was already happening. It's just it just seems like it's exacerbated right now. But that's been a thing. But yeah, absolutely.
Why do you think it's becoming exacerbated? Excuse me.
Just because the reliance that we have on social media, and this this urge or need to portray everything on social media. Even though we've had social media for a while now, the urge is just increasing of wanting to put everything on display, right? So I think that it's just shown more now, but I feel like before now, you still had the model industry, which was very particular of body image, how women portrayed were physicality wise, right? But now social media and the whole BBL industry or Botox, all that jazz, it's just always it's just in your face all the time.
Yeah,
people were selling their souls before that though.
Yeah, but it seemed like back then it's okay, this model is the beauty standard, and everybody wants to look like the model, or everybody wants to look curvy like their favorite actor, if you will. But in order to do that, they would have to, physically put in the work and mentally put in the work to transform themselves into that. Does that make sense?
Since when?
No, so you would have to go to the gym, is what I'm saying. So if you wanted to, now I'm talking about back in the day, not currently. But
you
now,
feel even back in the day, people had felt like their only route was to go to the gym. There's a show called Botch for a reason.
Well, okay. I'm saying in general, if you wanted that body that you so coveted, right? You were going to, the options were as publicly and readily available to you.
Advertised.
So now,
I'm sorry, I can agree with that.
So now a little girl sees, oh, this curvy girl on the screen. It's their first thought isn't, hey, maybe I should go work out. Their first thought is, oh, let me go get an injection in my butt.
Absolutely.
Let me go get,
Hard work is not a thing anymore.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can agree with that. I definitely agree that back in the day, people were more geared towards working hard to get to a certain point, right? Where now it's the easy way out is just more advertised and the first choice, oh, I want a flatter stomach, I'm gonna get lipo, or whatever case may be. Versus. Yeah,
it's really, I mean, it goes along with the fast food culture and the consumerism bug that is, making its way through the country. Or it's really from the start, but as companies are becoming more profitable and chasing more and more profits, they gotta sell more and more things. And so they almost have to, and they're almost incentivized to say okay, no, this stuff is good for you because we got to beat last year's numbers. And so instead of getting, we'll just use a very elementary example, instead of getting 100 girls into injecting their lips, this year we got to get 150 girls. Next year we got to get 200 girls, right? Yeah. And so we can't advertise the same because we got to attract more girls because those girls already got their inject slips. We need new clients.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And so now we got to affect these up-and-coming girls in a different way because the last methods may not work as effectively as
you're selling vanity though. They're selling the whole I was just talking to somebody else about this who is actually in anesthesia with me, who beforehand their path, like mine, I wanted to go as a PA to be a derm PA, right?
Okay.
And she did too, right?
Wow. Okay.
And so we were talking about that, of how like we thought we wanted that, then we started, shadowing experience and realizing like this is a very like vain field, like you're outside of the typical, mainly derm is just like moles, like skin cancer and moles, right? That's a lot of derm, right? Outside of that, you have the cosmetic side of derm, right? Which what we wanted to do.
Okay.
And you're just selling, like, you're selling people on this flaw that they have to, like, they want to correct.
Or they think it's a flaw.
They think it's a flaw,
Yeah.
So it's just you're selling vanity.
And I think that is the greater sin of it all. It's not that you're able to, maybe get these different procedures, but the fact that you're doing it because you think you're somehow flawed in some, or lacking and inadequate in some capacity, which also speaks more to, the state of like your mindset and your soul.
Yeah.
Because if you don't think you're good enough for, X, then that's really going to damage like your perception of, how you see the world, how you see yourself. And so that's very troubling to go through life like that. And people can, say all they want, oh, I'm doing this for me, and this is going to make me happy. But then it's like, they
never have one procedure. They're chasing they always find something else to correct, and like they get a high off of that, off of correcting that one thing. They want to go back and like get that same self like validation again.
Right.
Like, and that's why me and her chose not to go into that route, because we realized like it might. But also the reason we think that we wanted to go into it, because during that time, during our era of growing up, YouTube gurus were at its all-time, like, that we were at the peak of like the whole like cosmetic and like hair YouTube guru like era at the time, when me and her wanted to go into derm, right? Okay. And so that's why we think we were influenced by it, because like we were constantly on YouTube,
right,
about all that stuff. And then now it has started to like die down. It's not as like high as it was. But once we actually got into it and started shadowing and, experiencing it, we realized this is not field for us. Like, we don't even live with this like vain mindset of, like,
you'd be perpetuating something that you don't necessarily believe in.
We don't even believe in. Like, that's not even how I navigate my life, and that's the same thing for her, which is why we didn't go into it, and so like, yeah.
Wow. No, that's super interesting. Do you think, so how has, growing up, your mindset changed on, I guess, your self-image as far as like your body, and how has that changed, especially now that you're developing a relationship with God?
How has that changed? I mean, I used to hate myself. Full throttle hated myself. But I mean like...
Okay, before you answer that, what part of yourself? Did you hate yourself like in a physical sense or a mental sense? Or?
Both.
Okay.
Both. It was like physical and mental.
Why?
I just lacked complete confidence in who I was as a person. Like, even though others had confidence in me or viewed me as some way, I was just like, I didn't see it for the longest time. I just hated like the way I talked, the way I went about things, my mannerisms, like my essence. I hated it. My body, all that jazz.
What were you trying to be like, or what was like the image that you wanted to be that made you hate yourself in that sense?
I don't know. I just like, what did I want to be? Okay, let me think about during that time period. What did I want to be? What did Natalie want to be? Natalie wanted to be...
Because and I said that because if you were hating yourself, it was because you were probably comparing it as inadequate to something else that you deemed as higher.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I wanted to be like, more soft-spoken, more like graceful with my mannerisms, more like, I don't know. I had an image of like who I should have been. And like, I was always comparing it to that image of like just being this like more like, I guess like picturesque, like, perfect image of like, she's more softer and elegant, she's more classy, and she's glides close to the floor. Like, I don't know.
Oh. Wait, what does that say? Oh, dang. Oh, we're still recording though.
Yeah, it says please configure the stream first by clicking YouTube settings.
So the internet went out?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. We can just finish up. With the recording, I can upload this later. Okay. So where was I at? Okay. So you wanted to be softer. So how did you get to the point where you're like, okay, I love myself? Did you work on becoming softer, or did you just accept
I
where
worked
you were?
With God.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to God about it, and I went to God about it, and just fully understanding, like, no, like God loves me for me. Like He put me here. That's who I am for a reason, and like for everything that I might hate about myself, there's like there's like an equal number of things that I should love about myself as well. You know, like, so
That's beautifully said.
So it's like, I just went to God about it and like had to release that shame or the sense of shame that I had or thought I had, X, Y, and Z. Like releasing the idea of what others thought I should have been as well. Fully giving it to God and just realizing like, I am who I am. And I have to be okay with that first and foremost before I expect anybody else to be okay with it. So that's just going to God about it and just realizing like it's okay. Like, and as far as body wise, same thing. Actually being in school, the last semester has been very hard body wise for me because like, me, I'd be in the gym. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd be working out. So like being in school with 9 classes, I haven't made me work out.
Right.
So body dysphoria has been hitting me. Or dysmorphia, whatever you call it, dysmorphia has been hitting me hard because I'm used to like, ever since I've been home, I was just like in the gym. I was going hard. You know what I'm saying? So like not being in the gym as much has taken an impact in some way. I know I'm not like completely out of shape, but I just liked where I was sitting when I was throwing the weights.
Like where you were there.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
I was lifting the weights. Like how it was looking. But like, yeah, just going to God about it and just realizing like, it's okay, Nat. Like, it's okay.
Well, that's good. And a lot of times we focus on the things that we lack.
Yeah.
And when you go to God, then you realize that, no, you need to be focused on the things that you have. And it's not that you don't recognize the things that you lack and try to correct and work on the things that, one, you can control.
Absolutely.
Right? But you can't control anything about your natural hair texture or your skin, even if you tried.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's the whole Michael Jackson thing. It's like you can bleach your skin, but it's like you can change your nose, but you're still like...
I used to hate how dark I was. I used to hate it. Like, it was like, I used to hate it. And I had to just get to a space with myself and with God and realizing like, no, like I'm a brown, nice chocolate woman and that is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay with that now. But growing up, especially because it's the environment we grew up in, it's just like that wasn't like something that was, sought out or like admired, like, being darker tone growing up, which is not what people wanted. They wanted somebody who was lighter.
Right. Well, yeah, that was a big thing. Like all the rappers were pushing it.
Exactly. Rappers are pushing
which made young boys be like, oh, I want yellow bone, red bone. And but the funny thing is when you grow up, it's mainly like darker skinned girls that are the ones that are married.
Yeah.
And all the lighter skinned girls are probably because they're paraded around as trophies.
Yeah.
A lot of them just they end up not single. So. And that's just from observation. I don't have any
light-skinned women. Like, there's no comparison. Both we are both amazing, but
absolutely,
absolutely. But no, for sure. Like, I just now it's different. Like now, like they want us in full throttle. You know, but back then, like being told by like a black male my age that he would never be with a black woman ever. In my mind, I was like, your mama black. Like, what you mean?
Yeah, that's wild.
Like, what do you mean? Yeah. But in general, just to get back to like, beauty centers and vanity and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I went through my phase like any young adolescent would go through, which is hating themselves and their body and their image. But as you grow, and you learn and you start addressing your flaws, get closer to God, like that shifts and changes. And I feel like with the beauty industry, they're hitting people when they're at their low stages, when they're easily manipulated to think, okay, like, yeah, I thought that same thing and you're right, I should correct it, right? They're hitting them at those low stages. Versus like you don't see someone that's like truly confident, okay with themselves doing that stuff.
Yeah. And then the people that are, they're not pushed in these algorithms, because what happens is girls have, they're going through that stage of life where they're like, oh, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about that. And then they get recommended in their feed these beauty YouTubers who are like this and this and this. And the YouTuber that's telling you, no, be who you are, love yourself, they're not getting as many clicks because you're not clicking on it, essentially.
That, and it don't make money. It don't make money like how the beauty industry make money,
they're not going to be backed by the beauty industry as well.
So it's like you said, you're not clicking on it. Like for me, so like, it's a known fact, I ain't got no eyebrows, right? I got eyebrows, but slightly, right? But so like recently I was on Instagram and I was like looking at like some eyebrow page. After that, everything on my feed was straight eyebrows.
Oh yeah, some cookies.
Right? Everything. Like
you can't take a bite out of
like
them cookies.
Was it micro blading, needling or whatever it's called?
Blading. I think it is blading.
And then like the shading, the ombre, the henna, the hair transplant to the eyebrow, everything was on my feed, right?
That's crazy.
I did it one time, and everything's on my feed. So it just goes to show that like, best with the beauty industry, like the second you even look up something that is in the form of like beauty that you want to correct, it's going to your algorithm is going to hit you with it, because now it knows your weak points. Now it knows, oh, this is what you want to fix. I'm gonna make sure you go fix it. Like I'm gonna make sure you spend that money to go fix it. So it's just, we sell ourselves for vanity, but I strongly believe that like it's just more exacerbated now because, like I said, with social media and the algorithm and it being shown in your face, like you might have a thought momentarily, but then social media will make sure they're gonna hone in on that.
They'll make
thought.
you go down the rabbit hole.
The rabbit hole of that thought. You know what I'm saying? Like if we didn't have social media, it would have been a thought and it might have just passed.
Or you would have talked to your parents, and hopefully
or a friend
your
or
sensible
somebody.
Parent would be like, hey, no, you're beautiful the way you are. And then you go about your life.
What's your life, But now it's like we have a warped, view of things because they'll take that small thought and they'll let your mind run with it.
That's also the...
Ow,
But that's also the importance of making sure that you're putting and consuming content that is going to uplift who you are and the beauty that you bring to the world naturally.
And it's hard though.
No, I'm not saying it's hard, or I'm not saying it's easy, but that's a very important thing to constantly have content pumping into you that is going to help you with your self-image.
Yes.
Whether, Christian content, whether it's stuff that helps you think better conceptually about yourself and your mental and emotional health. Like those are all things that you should be pumping into yourself more than, like this microneedling thing, that looks interesting. And I'm not saying you can't consume that content, because maybe you're interested. Maybe one day.
More than likely, I'm gonna get my eyebrows done. I'm not gonna lie to you.
and that's not a. I don't think that's like a bad thing. I think that it becomes super vain when that becomes like an idol in your life. An idol in your life. And a god in your life, and now you're changing yourself to to morph into this image of beauty rather than trying to change yourself to morph into the image of God.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you're making it like this, like you said, idolizing it and making it bigger than really what it is.
Right.
And you said something, and when you said something, my immediate thought was like, about you said picking and choosing what you will, like,
basically filtering your content.
Your content. I hope or wish that one day there's a platform where like all you get is like just the Christian content of like, I guess like also the self-help aspect of it too, but like,
right.
Like, how you have like Instagram is a melting pot. You see the melting pot, you know? There's a platform of like multiple creators, like a plethora of creators, and like just like Christian content and like self-help and beauty, and health and everything, just like a complete just like Christian like platform, like constant content, just that, nothing else, no other possible distractions, just that. Really cool.
No, the problem is that there's some big Christian creators out there.
Yeah.
But the problem is, even with the platforms that they have, they still don't monetarily make as much, because their ad revenue per, click isn't as high as a money channel, and it's not as high as
that's what I'm saying. A space to where there's not even those things even on it, like an application to where it's just that.
I started to say that. Well, now these people with limited amount of money have to go and create this, YouTube from scratch. Now there are some platforms like there's what's the platform with the 700 Club? Christian Broadcast CBN. So CBN. They have an app, and it's decent and it's good, but it's mainly like news, and then they have like some of the podcasts on it.
Yeah.
It's not like a space where creators can go, and it's like, okay, you would almost have to create like a YouTube where you approve the creators.
Yeah.
Essentially. But then if you didn't run ads, you'd have to run like a subscription model.
Yeah.
So you can make money to keep the platform going, and also pay out your creators in some way. So it's almost like it would be a hard thing from a business perspective to tackle.
It would be very hard.
Unless like all of the Christian creators and people in I guess the self-help space were like, okay, no, let's collectively
in one
do this together.
Shift.
But then you'd have to go through the problem of being on one accord as far as like the vision for the platform.
Yeah.
When you have all those hands in the same pot. So no, it's I would love an app like that.
Yeah.
Very,
really cool.
very idealistic, but
Because like what I do now, like when I feel like I need to be more selective of what I'm consuming, especially if I feel like what I'm seeing is getting to me. You already know I'm quick to delete social media. I'm quick to delete it. But when I do delete it, I go into a stage of where I'm really just listening to podcasts, and like I'll have my journal, have my planner, my schoolwork, and I'm listening to podcasts. Because for me, I feel like it's easier for me to tap into a podcast and step away if I'm listening, versus when I'm watching something, it's harder for me to pull away from a video. It's like a sense of comfort that I have like created with like visual content.
So you're saying like when you're watching content, it's hard for you to do anything else?
It's harder for me to draw a line in the sand and say, I'm done consuming for the day.
Oh, so you're saying like if I'm watching a video, like when it's done, I'm like, next video.
Yes.
Oh, it's like basically like Netflix. You're like, okay, binge. But if you're just passively consuming it through audio, you just be like, okay.
Yeah.
Done.
Like I decide, I have a better handle on deciding to remove myself, right? So
okay, that makes sense.
There's periods where if I feel like I'm absorbing too much information from social media, from Instagram, I'm seeing too much stuff. Now my mind's starting to get warped. Now I'm starting to think things are wrong with me, and I know I didn't have that idea of myself before. Then I'll delete my social media apps, right? And I'll go to Spotify or to Apple Podcasts, and I go to my Christian Based podcast or my self-help podcast, whatever it may be, and I listen to those in the car, or like when I wake up, I'm getting dressed in the morning, and I create more time or space for having silence, you know what I'm saying, and less of a visual absorption. Then I would, and that helped me, because for me, like you said, once I'm watching a video, like I was like I'm glued to it, and I want to see the next one. And it's like I have built a sense of like comfort, especially with my grieving process, of like a sense of distraction of like, oh, I don't want to deal with those emotions right now. I'll go find a video and be overconsumed with that, and now it's hard for me to pull away from it. And
on the flip side of that, when you're watching a video, it's almost like you have someone there, and so that kind of helps solve your loneliness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you hit it on the nail on the head. When I watch a video, it's like I don't feel alone, right? And so it's like that's why I go into that season of like I'm just doing straight podcasts. Because like you listen to the podcast for 40 minutes while you're getting dressed or you're on the road, headed to school, whatever. You set yourself, especially if it's like this one girl, I can't remember her name, but she's like a Christian, like godly woman podcast. And she has some great content. I listen to her in my ear in my car. It's over. Okay, cool. I'm ready to tackle my day, and I'm focused on what I need to do for the day. Versus it's like after I finish watching a video and I try to go to my next task or assignment, my mind is like still on
the video and maybe on the next one that I could be watching.
I could be watching. Yeah. It's not on what I need to do right now. You know?
No, I definitely get that because I kind of struggle with the same thing. Now, I do have YouTube Premium, so if I'm watching it on my phone and I need to start doing something, I'll just turn it off, but it's still playing. So it's almost like it becomes a podcast. And then another thing that helped me was I turned off autoplay. In the settings. Yeah, that's a good idea. And so if a video is done and I'm doing something, because sometimes I'll just walk away from my phone to go do whatever the task is that needs to be done, then if that video goes off, then it's like, okay, well, I can either fully just immerse myself in this video or in this task, or if I really want to listen to something else, I have to physically go back over to my phone and do that. But that also...
But I can't listen to a podcast and do deep work. You know, if I need to focus on what I'm doing, I gotta go turn on like some lo-fi beats or something like that.
I got you.
I can't listen to a podcast and do deep work because there's a part of my brain that'll try to tap into what I'm hearing on the podcast. And part of my brain is trying to stay connected on like the work I need to do. Yeah. So
well, and in that regard, I can definitely understand because a lot of the times the work that I'm doing is so ingrained and it's basically like driving a car. So like I'm already got the process down. I know what I'm doing. But for you, you're learning a whole new field and have to absorb this new material and retain it as well. So you can't focus on another human talking at the same time as you're trying to, learn grasp the concepts
of what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can we kind of veer from the topic? But
I think it goes into the topic. You have to have a self-awareness so that you don't fall into the pitfalls of consuming so much content that you get immersed into
the
world of vanity, whether it's beauty, whether it's chasing money, whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. And that's why I was saying I stopped myself the second I start to feel like I'm becoming vain or just my thoughts are just not my own is when I take a step back and I delete social media for months at a time until I feel like I'm ready to come back.
That's good. One thing you said was silence.
Oh my God, yeah.
And the importance of it.
It's very important.
So talk about that because I would 100% agree with you need silence.
Sometimes it's like we're already so loud in our heads, right? And we try to run away from how loud we are in our heads. For me, I'll go turn on a video to block it out. Right? Not realizing that, like, if I just sat there for a moment, I would work through those thoughts I had in my head. I'll get to a point where I can just, like, level down. Like, it might seem very loud in the beginning and something I want to block out. But if I can decide to address it versus running from it, right? Start to address it, eventually in that moment, we can, we can work through it and we can get quiet
to resolution.
And we can now sit in silence, right? So that came from being alone, going in Florida, and just like at first it gets really loud, and I'm like, a video, block it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, go distract yourself. And then once I realized, no, you have to address how you feel. Like it's gonna keep coming. It keeps popping up.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I can address it. I'm addressing it, and now that I've addressed it in this moment, now it's silent. And now now I come back down. I'm getting calmer. My anxiety's coming back down. I have a sense of grounding. Like I can reset myself. I can go prepare myself better for the next task because I'm more focused now. Because I was able to silence, what was in my head because I addressed it versus just blocking it out. So just sitting in silence and just kind of having that reset moment of like, at first it might be really loud, but if you just wait a little bit longer, that silence will come. And that sense of like break, that mental break is what you need to continue on to the next task.
No, that's good because a lot of times people, I lost my train of thought. No, let me get it back. But no, silence is necessary because that's what I was going to say. So when you address it head on with yourself, it's the same effect as if there's a problem in a relationship that you have with somebody else. If you don't address it head on and you're not able to, work through that issue immediately, it just festers, it builds up into an inevitable explosion where things will be so volatile that you may not be able to repair the relationship. So why would you do that to yourself? Furthermore, if you're able to do that with yourself and work through those issues, you'll have an easier time doing it with other people.
Yes.
And so it does start with the self-work of, how is your relationship with yourself?
Yes.
Because that often plays out with how your relationship is with other people and how you're able to maintain those relationships and the healthiness of them. So,
and to add to that, because I just read an article I was doing, so in fact, my research project that I'm doing for next semester is on mental health and study techniques in AA school.
Okay.
And so I was looking at like mental health stuff first, and it was talking about for students in the medical field for resilience, metacognition, and I guess like meditation training. And they were showing evidence of how we're saying that moment of taking silence, addressing things, better relationship with people, and whole 9 yards, all that.
Right.
But doing it with yourself, it showed a booster in like people's like learning capability.
right.
As far as the material they were learning, because if they incorporated that training of like being cognizant of where they were at in that moment, why they felt the way they felt, meditated in that silence and reset, that enhanced their ability to learn the next topic that they were about to go learn.
Yeah. Because they were deeply were in relation with that process, that when it played out outside of themselves, it was easy. It's essentially like practice.
Yeah. And so like it just kind of like piggyback off what you were saying, how like with a relationship with somebody else or with yourself, like something fester, addressing it and building that connection, going deep, what I'm saying, building that bond and stuff. But
Right.
it's like building that bond with yourself, of being mega aware of like what hinders you. Why do you feel this way? That self-assessment constantly, and then after self-assessing, meditating and sitting back and like just like releasing and saying, okay, like let me just breathe in this moment. You know what I'm saying? Like I addressed it. I understand why I would do the things that I do. It blocks out the distractions for like your next task. Like you're no longer. You ever been in class and like you listening at first, but then you just zoned out. Like you were zoned.
You don't know where you are. You're just somewhere else. Yeah.
Because you never address those thoughts. You know what I'm saying? That's why my both semesters, I had to always record my classes. They record it too, and they're going to post it, but it takes forever. So I was recording my classes, like the audio, because I zoned out like all the time. Like, 5 minutes in, I'm gone for like the next 40 minutes, But then I realized that like it was because before I went to class, I never addressed the mental thoughts that were in my head first.
Yeah, you weren't clear-headed.
I wasn't clear-headed
or clear-minded going into the class.
I felt heavy. I had all these thoughts in my head. I didn't address anything or anything like that. And therefore, it impacted my relationships with people around me. You don't address what's in your head and things that are blocking you. It's going to be hard for you to be present and aware of people that are around you and to navigate in a space that is respectful, right? You might think that you're being respectful to someone you're talking to, but if your mind's somewhere else, you start doing saying things that you didn't, you know what I'm saying, you didn't realize. Like,
yeah,
you're just like,
yeah. And it's like,
did you hear what I said?
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, like, did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, that is very interesting. All right, let's venture into our last topic here. So, this thing isn't working. Oh, you know what? Okay, the internet's not working, so it's gonna be slow. But our beauty standards, excuse me, our cosmetic procedures getting out of control. So we, talked about them a little bit, but let's hone in on cosmetic procedures. Are they, kind of getting out of control with how seriously even young girls are taking them?
I mean, women are dying. Like, mothers are dying. They're going in for, like, mommy makeovers. I think it was, like, recently, what you call his wife?
DJ Youngfly.
Mm-hmm.
That was sad. That was really sad.
Really sad. He's an amazing soul. She was an amazing soul. Mm-hmm. So, like, two amazing people.
Right.
I have high respect for both of them. And something as innocent as going in for like a mommy, well, allegedly, we don't know the full story. You know what I'm saying? That's fully their business. But just going off of speculation of what we've heard. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's very understandable for a mother who's had multiple kids to want to tweak some things. You know, like...
No, yeah, absolutely.
You know, like, that's all right. Your whole body just changed, whole 9 yards.
And a lot of times it takes a long time.
It's a long time.
If ever, to get back to how you were, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's very reasonable how your mental would definitely shift. Definitely all the hormonal changes, all that jazz. And so I guess she went in for a mommy makeover, and then unfortunately, you know, she's not here with us anymore. You know, that's the common story though. That's like, it's not as publicized because she was, you know, a public figure. She was an influencer, so that yes was exacerbated. But that's very common. You know, like
wow.
So it's like, are they getting out of control? Yes. You have young girls who at 16 want like boob jobs and stuff like that. Like, you know, they want the injections and everything like that.
It's like, aren't your boobs not done growing yet?
They're not even done growing yet. Like, give it time. Like, just literally give it time. You know, I will never fully understand the whole BBL era. I don't.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But
you know,
people, they want to. Well, I guess girls want to look snatched, as they say, where it's like super small waist and then big bottom, which is appealing to guys to a certain point, to a certain proportion. But some of them take it just too far, where it just looks too far
and looks distorted.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like one of those genie bottles.
But at the same that time, it's so confusing because like men say they don't want it, don't want that, but then 9 times out of 10 they go end up getting a girl with BBL. So it's like men say that, oh no, we want you to be all natural, and then like they go end up getting a girl with that kind of body.
They generally want girls to be all natural who
look like that.
Look more like that. But also, when it comes to settling down with, you know, a girl, men want peace and they want, you know, to feel loved and supported by a woman. And so when generally girls that are all natural, mentally, they're more in line with those things. Yeah. Whereas a girl who's gone through getting all these different procedures, she has a completely different mindset. Yeah. And generally it's going to be more confrontational and more problematic in a relationship. Yeah. And ultimately, above almost everything, guys just want a peaceful home. Absolutely. And, you know, just...
And vice versa.
General nurturing.
Both parties truly just want a peaceful home and have nurturing from both sides. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, and some of them look good. And so guys are, you know, very
on one hand the number of women that look good with BBL.
Well, I don't know too many women. I haven't seen too many women. Well, I don't know who's... I don't go to spaces where women have a bunch of BBL, so I couldn't speak to that. But guys are conditioned to look at women in general, and then if you accentuate the parts that we, you know, want to look at, then we're gonna look, and we might be intrigued and interested for a moment. Yeah. But it's almost like, you know, getting, you know, the hit that we were talking about from, you know, social media. It's like, let me just experience this to see how it is. Absolutely. Oh, that was kind of fun. That felt a little good, but it's not something that, it's not like a long-term investment. Yeah. This is a short. I'm trying to pump and dump, literally pump and dump.
Literally pump and dump. It's definitely getting out of control. Yeah. I mean, like you said, the younger generation. Honestly, this topic can go in multiple different directions with the younger generation. But sticking on the idea of just cosmetic, they're seeing it, and their minds are just so easily influenced because they haven't reached a stage in their life where they can differentiate and discern for themselves what they should or shouldn't do, or you know, they're not at that stage yet.
I mean, even when you're 18, that's
exactly
tough.
Like exactly. So them seeing it plastered, it's like it gives them that idea that it's okay and I should be wanting to do this at a young age,
and also that everybody's doing it,
and that everyone's doing it. It's normal. You know what I'm saying? Like there's you know, women that I've encountered, especially in Florida, I did not know. Maybe I'm wrong, but so I don't want to overspeak. But in Florida, people I've met, that's like they just love the BBL community. Like,
oh no, it's big down there.
Okay.
No, I think it is bigger in certain pockets of Florida. Yeah, for sure. Because I know Miami, that's a big hub for going to get these different procedures.
The BBL girlies, and I'm like, oh, y'all excited about this? Like that's like they admire them.
Yeah, but it's one thing. Yeah, and that's my problem with it. It's like it's one thing to be like, oh, I want to get this procedure, I want to look good or whatever. Like we all have vanity up until a certain point, but when it starts to become like the thing in your life. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, this is who I am. It's like, no, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. After I have a couple kids, will I get my boobs done? Probably. You know,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
after I have some kids,
right.
you know what I'm saying? I don't want them now. I'm chilling.
But my thing is not with the procedure. I'm not like anti-procedure from
Cosmetic surgery.
From a cosmetic, surgery perspective. It's the fact that it's like, where's your true heart at?
Yeah.
Are you, what you're trying to change and portray on the outside, is that a representation of who you are on the inside? Because a lot of times they're very incongruent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so guys would rather have a woman who just has this inner glow, who maybe doesn't look as good, and he'll settle down with that girl for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Because she's consistent.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? She's not just going to go out on a whim and change.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In any situation.
We're more solid within ourselves. You know?
Exactly.
I have no urge right now to go out and get any cosmetic surgery because I'm very solid within myself. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the most I might do when I get done with school is fix these bags under my eyes from lack of sleep. But other than that, and I probably won't do that. I'm just talking right now. But in general, when we're very solid within ourselves, you know what I'm saying? Even Kenya, but she's very solid within herself. Her mind isn't on these cosmetic surgeries to go fix. You know, we're more focused on other things. Our morals and our priorities are a lot.
But they're higher than the vanity.
They're higher than
not
the
that you
vanity.
don't have these vanity thoughts. Everybody wants likes on Instagram.
Absolutely.
Everybody wants to look beautiful. But ultimately, is that the most important thing? Is that the highest value?
Is that what
your
I
highest
prioritize?
priority in your life? So
it's crazy, and I'm not gonna mention the person's name because that's not our story to tell. But it's actually crazy because there was one individual. She was an influencer. She's married, has 2 children. Very beautiful girl. You know, athletic build. She's a trainer, all that jazz. And her whole life she's had very, 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 very flat chest, right? And so it's something that she's wanted to change, right? Like she got to the point, she, even after 2 kids, they didn't get any bigger. She wanted to change it, right? She wanted bigger breasts. It actually saved her life because when you go in to get your breast augmentation, they have to do a consult first.
Right.
They have to do an assessment and mammogram, all that jazz. They did a mammogram, they found cancer. She had breast cancer. And so she had to have a mastectomy. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, and so it's crazy because it's like...
I'm glad she had her kids.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy. I mean, she could still have kids and everything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
She's... Even though after the mastectomy, she's healthy. She can still have kids.
Okay,
she's in remission, all that jazz. But it's just crazy because, we talk about the side, because there's limited situations like hers. We talk about the side of it just being plastered, it being this huge influence, and people are just being manipulated, think that they need to get it.
Right.
And in her sense, of course, outside factors may have played a factor. We don't know how her full emotions about why she wanted it. Right. But her deciding to go get it actually saved her life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. Those rare moments of oh wow,
that was good.
Yeah, saved your life.
No, yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all of our topics. Before we get out of here, if you got any questions for me or anything you want to discuss,
Joshua Prophet,
we can get into that.
Joshua. I got questions.
Oh, jeez. Okay, here we go.
All right, Joshua. My dude, you're now 26?
26, yeah.
26, newly engaged. How does 2024 look for you? Where's your head at with that? And what does... Well, I'll ask my second question after. First, 2024, where's your head at with that? Being in the new situation that you're in now, because you're making shifts.
Oh yeah. So it seems like there's a lot of shifts going on just based on I'm going to be doing this and doing this and doing this, but really this is just a launching pad for the foundation that I've been building.
Okay.
Over the last couple years, even prior to meeting Kenya, almost 3 years ago. At this point,
It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. And so. Yeah, we told that story. We told that story on a recent podcast. So if y'all interested in how Natalie brought Kenny and I together, go check that video out. But essentially, over the last couple of years, I've invested a lot into myself, into my business, and into my relationship with Kenya, obviously. And so now you're about to see the fruition of, basically you're about to see the house being built. So you saw the foundation being laid. Now you're about to see the house being built. I'm going to get married. Going to really start to, and last year I traveled a lot, but this year it's more structured. It's in more of a team setting. We have one more guy coming with us that's going to be consulting and helping out with, the different camera angles and what we need to shoot and all of that. And so that's going to be a part of what I'm doing in 2024. And then along with just consistently making content, we have a process now that allows us to basically put out a video every single day. I think we put out a video every single day for the last 2 or 3 months, and that's basically going to continue. And it's based on this system that we've created, because it's like we've sat down, we're an hour, a little over 2 hours now. And so now I can chop this video up into 8 videos, right? And then just schedule them out. And so we have that, and then we have Miracle and Alan that's going to be consistently making content, and they're in the swing of
her killing it.
Oh yeah, they're doing great, and they're in the swing of things now. Because at first it was like, we don't know how many shows we're gonna be able to do, but now she's doing the weekly tea with Kenny and I, and then her and Alan are gonna do the conscious outlet thing at least once a month, and so. And they're comfortable with, being behind the camera now. And so now it's just like...
listen, being behind the camera is not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, it isn't. It isn't. It does take a lot of... it takes a lot to be practiced at articulating yourself very well when there's a camera in your face. But then it's also a special skill of making your guests feel comfortable when talking, so that they're, just zone out, like the cameras aren't even there. And they're able to just... have a conversation. So that's another hurdle that you have to overcome as well in a lot of different instances. And so, so now that all of these things are in place and I've done them at more of a elementary level, now it's like kind of graduating into, okay, now we're able to really thrive and really maximize what I can get from being able to travel and shoot these documentaries on YouTube, being able to grow, even with like pickleball, because Kenny and I have been playing pickleball since July, and the growth that we've both experienced and how much better we've gotten since then has been tremendous. We've played in a couple of tournaments, but we'll be able to fit that better into a lot of our schedules, because everything else is kind of, organized and, systematized as well. So that's what 2024 looks like. It's just basically a launching pad for me to be able to reap the returns on the investments that I put in prior to 2024.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. You're going into a season where you're about to start seeing the fruit of like your actual labor. Like, seeds were already planted. It's, it's a growing season. Like it's...
Right, yeah. It's been watered. Been fertilized and everything, and so now the tree is getting into that growth where it's gonna spring up, and it's almost like watching a kid grow. And like if you go away for a week and you come back, you're like, who are you? You know, that's what I think is going to happen, and that's what I expect to happen in 2024. Okay. From all angles, relationship, business, and creatively. Also, I'll be able to put out a lot more music, because I basically haven't been able to put out a lot of music. Is music still like your focus? So like with everything, like with like the videography podcast, is music like really like in the hindsight your focus right now? No, that's very low. Yeah. But because I have everything else systematized and organized, I'll be able to, put out, because I have a lot of music that's just not released, and I have a lot of projects that I can work on. And that's just a creative outlet that I just love. I just love being able to create music, compose it, write the lyrics, think of these ideas of how I can intertwine these different concepts and stuff. And so it's something that I want to share with the world. I just know that that's not going to be the the main source of how I can provide value to the world, essentially, and make a living at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's not that the music doesn't have value. It's just that you have to constantly find that balance of, okay, how can I, make a living, but also provide value into the world, because you obviously got to make a living. So, but because everything is, foundationally laid, I'll be able to do more of the hobbies. I'll be able to showcase them more as well, like, pickleball or music, different things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah. So 5 years from now, Joshua, 5 years, where will Josh and Kenya, who y'all be in 5 years? Where do you see yourself being in 5 years? What's the 5-year goal? What's the accomplishment? What's the 5-year plan?
So the 5-year plan is obviously, in a couple of years, we want to be able to, get the house that we kind of want to settle down in and really build, whether it's like on land or in a really good community.
Is this in Georgia, or y'all thinking about moving somewhere else?
Right now we're thinking about Georgia in short term, but we don't know what's going to happen. And that's just more from a logistical standpoint of, okay, Trent, there's a YouTuber I work with, he's moving back to Warner Robins next year.
Okay.
So like from a community perspective, it would just make sense.
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to travel to wherever we want to. And plus, like, you move to some of these bigger cities, then your cost of living is going to be a lot higher. And so it's like, hey, let's have home base where the cost of living isn't substantial.
Absolutely.
And
be able to travel, especially you need to travel to.
Yeah. And now we have more income, disposable income, to be able to, travel, because that's a big thing that Kenya wants to do. He wants to be able to, go travel and, explore the world. Plus, in 5 years, we should have at least 2 kids.
In 5 years?
Yeah. She says 3, but yeah.
In 5?
Yeah. 100%.
5 years?
Yeah, within 5 years, yeah.
You know you'd be like 31, right? Mm-hmm. You want 3 kids by 31?
No, she wants 3 kids by 31.
Can you want 3 kids by 31?
I said 2.
3 by 31?
Okay, probably 2.
Yeah. We'll have at least 1, but yeah,
I can see at least
probably,
1. 1 in 5 years, yeah.
Yeah.
The topic of kids.
Yeah.
The topic of kids. We'll get into that after we
Oh
finish.
no, I mean we're in agreement about the kids, but
no, that's y'all's agreement. It's y'all's decision. I think for me, it's like I'm also 26, but like I'm not gonna be done with school until I'm 28, right?
Oh yeah, so
and
your circumstance is a lot different.
Yeah. And I'm not dating anymore. Now I'm single,
right.
And so it's like if I meet somebody in school. Like while I'm in school, okay, cool, great. But even when I meet somebody, like after we're married, I want 2 years with my person before I even have a kid. Because I want to solidify that foundation of like us living together, like really honing in on like what we are as a newlywed couple, and that foundation within our house, how he decides he wants to lead that household before we introduce kids into the mix.
Oh no, yeah, that's a conversation Kenny and I have had.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, once we get married, it's like for at least a year, like it's just us. We're just focused on each other.
Yeah.
Focused on the different things that come with living
together.
Yeah. But also just enjoying the fact that we're united as one.
Yeah.
Now, before we add 2, 3, 4.
3.
So no, yeah, I'm definitely.
3 kids, a lot.
I'm definitely with you on that.
A lot. I don't think I want 3 kids even once I'm married. Kids are expensive. Kids are a lot.
I know.
You ready for 3 kids, Joshua?
I'm ready for 2. I want a girl and a boy.
Yeah.
But if I have 3, I want a girl and 2 boys. I don't want 2 girls. That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't know how your dad did it.
Exactly. I was like, Michael Hayes,
that sounds
see
crazy.
that gray on his head? It's for a reason. I don't know how he did it either. Do I have any more questions? Okay. Oh, that's putting you on the spot. If you can go back and change one thing, if you can go back,
This
and
is always
this is the one thing that like, sheesh, I wish I could change that one thing.
That's always a funny question because I always count it that I'm in such a beautiful spot now, but it's all because of everything that
Absolutely.
I've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily one thing that I would change or like a specific thing that I would go back and like rewrite.
Mm-hmm.
I think in college, if I had if I could, I guess, change something,
mm-hmm.
it would be my outlook on life earlier, like my perspective change on how I viewed, because that's my junior year of college was the catalyst for the foundation for where I'm at now, as far as like my overall mindset and outlook on life.
Yeah.
But if I would have had that even a year earlier, sophomore year, freshman year, then I can't tell you where I would be now.
Yeah.
I think I would be exponentially further along than where I am now. And so I think that's the only thing I would change is a mindset sort of thing, because that would have affected decisions that I made earlier, which would have put me
no
in
one
a further
prepares you
position.
for that shift from college to like adulthood. Like no one prepares you for that shift. That mindset,
yeah, it's crazy. Even from high school to college, because you don't have your parents. I mean, most people now don't have their parents there to help them with just simple stuff like laundry or making sure that you ate or what you're going to eat. You know, things that you kind of just took for granted. Now you gotta, along with making sure you're caught up on your studies and also being sociable with people, you got all these little
adulting is ghetto.
Yeah, adulting things that you have to do in a sense. And then when you graduate from college, now it's like, oh, now you're just completely on your own. And that's a whole new world, because it's crazy because I was talking to my brother and he's like, yeah, I got homework. And I was like, dang, I mean, I know you still probably have homework or whatever that you have to do, but I'm like, I can't even fathom doing homework. Like, that is for the birds. Like why would I even have time to do homework? Like, even now in my state. But it's like, that was just something that you took for granted. And I remember right after I graduated and I would clock out for work, come home, I was like, should I be doing like homework or something like that?
Yeah,
like, it felt so weird because your pattern of behavior
has shifted, changed.
Yeah, literally like kindergarten was you come home, make sure your homework is done, make sure you got everything prepared for school for, the next day.
Yeah.
And, get
you
up
also
and
have to re-solidify like your motivation for things, because like when you're in school, you're on someone else's timeline. Like, you're on someone else's agenda of like things that have to be due on this date, or you have X, Y, Z consequence, right?
And you have goals that are figured out for you. It's like you got to set a major, you got to graduate, you got to do all these things.
This test and X, Y, and Z, and like these are laid out for you, right?
Yeah.
When you graduate and that's gone, your sense of like motivation, or your why, or like what, in addition to that, when post graduation, when things do not go the way you thought they were going to go, like, you had all these plans and ideas in your head of like what was going to happen post graduation. Oh, when I get done, I'm gonna have this job,
right?
I'm gonna be here, and that doesn't happen, and you already haven't like re-solidified your motivation. You're just lost. Like, you're just like, what's happening right now? Like, your mindset's just like, And so, even though like the adulting part goes into play with being in Florida, I'm on a meal prep service because I don't have the mental capacity to go through this program and everything else that I have to go through and feed myself.
Yeah, it's like, that's something I shouldn't have to worry about.
Like, I have to feed myself. So like, I booked a meal prep service because I just can't, like, I just too much. Like, the 9 classes, the lack of sleep, just the go. Like, I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm not in bed until like 10, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I'm up at 4:30 in the morning again. Like, I wake up, I like do coffee first thing in the morning, and then like I'm studying, going hard. I'm in classes. Probably about like noon, 1 o'clock, I'm on an energy drink, going at it again until like 10:30, 11 o'clock when I decide, okay, I'm calling it. Go to sleep for like 4, maybe 5 hours. I'm at 4:30 doing it again.
Jeez.
So I'm just like, adulting is ghetto. So meal prep, like,
that's a good way to put it. Adulting is ghetto.
Like, so yeah, like you said, like, in that time period of like your sophomore year, junior year, and that mindset that you were in, I agree wholeheartedly with you. I wish someone adequately prepared us for post, for college within itself mentally, and then post college.
Yeah, which is a kind of a knock on the schooling system and university system, because they're failing to adequately prepare you and put you in situations that are going to be more reflective of what you will have to deal with.
Absolutely.
In the real world. So they just feed you. All they do is feed you a bunch of information.
Yeah.
And then they tell you to regurgitate that information back to them.
Yeah.
And then they're like, here's your degree. And then they just throw you to the wolves.
Yeah.
And now you have to practically and critically think through and implement how I can use data and information, when that process is why you should have went to school in the first place.
Exactly.
You don't go to school to learn the information. You go to school to learn how to critically think, how to solve the problem, and how to apply the information to any situation, really. But definitely certain situations within your field.
It's like this test I took. I was pissed. We were all pissed. It was our teacher, and he's actually one of my favorite teachers. But one of our teachers, he was teaching this information to us. Well, scratch that. We taught ourselves, and we came to class. And he kind of went over it again. But the point is, we would just go over it in a sense of like, we had a quiz every class, right? So you read the material like 10 times, coming into class knowing that I have a quiz over what I just read, right? And what the quiz is, the way it's set up is like, it's literally like regurgitation. Like, he'll change one word that can make a question true or false. So you read 10 different things, right? You read 3 different PowerPoints, 2 different articles. You have to remember what you read, so that when you read this question, if you change this one word, you know if it's true or false or not, right? Or you know which answer choice to pick based off of the small thing you changed, right? That's how the quiz was.
So like if it was like, oh, the cat jumped up the tree, on the test it might say the cat didn't jump up the tree, and like that slight variation.
Exactly. That was the quiz. That was the quiz, right?
Oh,
but on the test,
it would be different. Okay.
He made the test application, and so I said, "You can't teach me, and you can't have me being quizzed in a way of simple memorization, and then hit me with an exam that's clinical application." Yeah,
that's wild.
We failed it.
Especially if you didn't teach the process.
You didn't teach me the process of even applying this material.
Yeah.
You didn't teach me how to apply the material. So now you give me a clinical application exam over this material that initially when you first quizzed me over it, it was pure just like regurgitation, right? So that first exam, we failed that. We looked at him like, I looked at him and said, what was that? He was like, well, you should have known it. You didn't teach me how to apply anything. You didn't teach me how to apply anything.
Well, yeah, but if your students don't know and everybody fails, that's a reflection on your job as a teacher of like how your ability,
boring topic.
Your ability to teach.
The material was a very just dry, mundane, like it's boring topic. Like, it's one of those like courses that like you just got to get through it type of thing. But by the second exam, we had a better idea. Once you go through it the first time, you make a mistake. You'll navigate how to do it again, right? So by the second exam, we did better. By the final, we did even better. But it's like we had to realize, oh yeah, you might be teaching us this way, but you don't. It was no different from my ACLS exam. He was teaching us a certain way, and then on the exam, I thought I was getting smacked in my face. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like the way we're applying this, like you did not teach me how to do this.
Right.
And then after every exam, it's just like, okay, like I have now you just adjust. Like you like, okay, like. From the first exam, you were approaching it in this manner. Yeah. Now when I study, I gotta think like you.
But it's crazy when teachers don't tell you like, okay, this is how the test is going to be structured.
Yeah.
Because in every situation in life, you kind of understand how the test or what you're going to be facing is going to be structured. Now, whether you have the tools and the ability to conquer that is one thing. But at least you kind of understand, like,
heads up.
It's like, like I'm playing a baseball game. Yeah, I know what to expect as far as like playing a baseball game. Now, we might not prepare in the best way for our opponents, but at least I know what to expect. But when teachers, hit you with the, I'm going to get them, I think it's not helpful. Like, how is that helpful to y'all's growth as?
It was terrible.
students.
It was dreadful.
Yeah,
that's because
crazy.
the night before that first exam, I was in the emergency room again. They thought I had appendicitis. So like I was in the emergency room till like 3, 4 in the morning. Hardly got any sleep. Woke up, studied for a little bit, took that exam.
Wow.
I was among the few that actually passed that exam.
Jeez. Dang, that's a war story in and of itself. Jeez. All right. Do you have any other questions for me?
No, I don't think I do, Joshua.
All right. Well, this has been a very, very, this has been fun. This has been really profitable conversation.
You go deep.
Want to thank everybody for tuning in since the stream went out.
Yes,
Sorry
yes,
for that. I will re-upload this full stream later. So if you made it to this part, make sure you like for the algorithm. Make sure you share this with your friends and your family. And we'll be back sometime later this
y'all.
week. Bye.
How long was that? I thought we talked forever. Well, we